A very good evening. Welcome to State of Business on our television. I'm Ashing Sani Veer Singh. Let's have a look at the headlines for today. Ad hoc policy changes disrupt revenue collection, says non-cabinet minister. MCC explains as to why the agreement is undisclosed to the public. News in detail. Non-Cabinet Minister of Economic Reforms and Public Distribution Dr. Harsha De Silva states that the government should rethink about some recent policy changes which directly affect the reduction of the revenue collection via taxes. Dr. Harsha De Silva made these claims today addressing the launching of the Economic Report on Tobacco Taxation organized by Research Intelligence Unit.
So think about this. It's about the availability of choice and about the ability to substitute. So if you tax a short version of a cigarette, the same amount of tax with the longer version of the cigarette, there is no incentive for the person to buy, one or the other. There is no demand really for the shorter version of the cigarette because you have to pay the same amount to purchase that. So what happens then is if either you are able to continue to purchase the longer version, you will. If not, you will buy something else that is not tax paid. So in that instance, in fact, I have brought to the notice of the government also that we need to rethink about ad hoc changes in taxes. That makes really no business sense from a revenue collection point of view. And something that we must understand through research, like the one you perhaps have done and others, is to estimate the availability of non-tax paid products. And this is really very, very critical when it comes to tobacco and alcohol, because both can be either smuggled or homebrewed, which means that the government is losing revenue. So therefore, independent sort of estimates must be taken into consideration by the Treasury and others.
Sri Lanka resident country director on Millennium Challenge Corporation Jenner Edelman states the MCC Compact has no relation to the acquisition and cross-servicing agreement or a status of forces agreement, and that the MCC Compact was ready for signing before the renewal of these military agreements. Jenner Edelman made these remarks at a public forum on the MCC Compact organized by the Advocata Institute last Thursday with the aim of separating fact from fiction around this hotly debated topic.
MCC is an independent development organization, much like USAID, and our mission globally is poverty reduction through economic growth. We have absolutely zero connection to AXA or SOFA, no military connection whatsoever. This program was developed together with the government of Sri Lanka in consultation with private sector and civil society and a number of think tanks and universities over a period of 3 years. It was finalized and ready for signature last fall, long before the renewals of these military agreements came up. AXA and SOFA are long-standing military agreements that were proposed for renewal. They were first signed back in 1995 and 2007, I believe, and the U.S. has them in place with over 100 countries worldwide.
Upon the question as to why the MCC Compact is not available in the public domain, Jenner Edelman also stated that it is the MCC's policy to not share the document prior to it being signed by the recipient government. Nevertheless, she urged concerned citizens to reach out to the government to release these documents since they are in a position to share the agreement.
Regarding making the document public, we do have a draft grant agreement that was negotiated by a team of Sri Lankans led by the Secretariat to the Treasury, which included the Attorney General's Department and all the secretaries and additional secretaries we're working with from Land and Transport and Finance and the Ministry of Megapolis, of course. That was agreed and finalized last fall. It is our policy as an organization to make those grant agreements public as soon as they're finalized and signed. And we will do that just as we have done for every single compact, which is just a fancy word for grant agreement that we have signed with partners around the world. We've signed 37 of these grant agreements to date with nearly 30 different partner countries. So I would encourage you, if you want to see what one of these looks like, please go to our website. All of the standard provisions are identical across all of the compacts, and you can see exactly what's in there. There's nothing suspicious in there whatsoever. It's not our practice to make them public before they're signed. It's the government's decision if they would like to disclose the grant agreement, but it will be made public as soon as it's signed.
Central Bank announces that manufacturing activities expanded at a higher rate in August 2019, recording an index value of 56.6, which is an increase of 0.9 index points compared to July 2019. As per the central bank data, during the month of August, employment increased, yet at a slower rate due to the increase in employment in food and beverages sector, while many respondents in the textile and apparel industry highlighted that the labor availability in the market was low. Meanwhile, the stock of purchases expanded at a slower pace in August, although the new orders and production expanded at a higher rate and the stock of purchases was not increased significantly due to accumulated stocks brought forward from previous month. On the other hand, services sector has continued to expand in August 2019, yet at a slower pace compared to July 2019, recording an index value of 52.9 underpinned by the increase in new businesses, new activity and expectations for activity sub-indices. On the employment front, August saw a decline in staffing levels compared to the previous month due to retirements and time lags in filling vacant positions. In terms of expectations for activity, service providers' optimism on the 3-month business outlook eased in August 2019 compared to July 2019. Stay tuned for more news after this short break. Welcome back after the break. Taste of Europe, another biggest European food festival in Sri Lanka, was held at the Independence Square in Colombo last Saturday and Sunday as organized by Y Entertainment. Taste of Europe Food Festival commenced at 11 a.m. and went on till 11 p.m. on both the Saturday and Sunday. Over 50 food stalls showcased their varied food items, providing a marvelous opportunity for food lovers in the town. The entrance-free event gathered a huge crowd for the event, and live band and the DJ made the event a colorful one. The organizers had also arranged a children's play area, surprise gifts for the participants, and many other items, making the event a memorable one.
This is our television you're watching, and what you're witnessing right now is a lot of food stalls where you can buy food, and this is the European Taste Food Festival that is happening, which is organized by Y Entertainment.
Addressing a recent event in Colombo, Minister of Tourism Development, Wildlife and Christian Religious Affairs John Amaratunga emphasized that the growth of tea industry and rising global attraction towards tea have benefited the tourist industry of the country.
Tea and tourism is the lifeblood of Sri Lankan economy. Country is much dependent on these two products. It is no secret that tea and tourism have grown hand in hand for many decades in our paradise island, complementing the other and contributing to the national coffers in equal measures until very recently, when tourism overtook the earnings from the tea exports. Today, tourism accounts for about 5% of the GDP, while tea accounts for about 0.5%. But the fact remains that with the evolution of our tourism industry, tea will assume a very important position in tourism value proposition, enabling the tourism industry to capitalize on the tea industry for our tourism purposes. What this means is that although tea contributes lesser than tourism to the national GDP, much of the success of tourism industry is dependent upon the tea cultivations spread out across our central highlands.
Minister of Housing and Construction and Cultural Affairs Sajith Premadasa says that Sri Lanka's manufacturing exports are in the same place today as it was in the early 1980s, and urgent measures need to be taken. Minister Premadasa made these remarks addressing the 23rd edition of the Presidential Export Awards, which was held under the patronage of President Maithripala Sirisena last Thursday in Colombo.
Sri Lanka's manufacturing exports are in the same place today as it was in the early 1980s. And Sri Lanka did not become the next Asian tiger. This brings me to the central structural challenge the Sri Lankan economy faces. We have developed one manufacturing export since independence, apparel. But since the early 1980s, we have not diversified our exports or our export destinations. The challenge today is for us to export new products to new markets. Based on our own experience in the 1980s and the 1990s and the lessons of the Asian tigers, I believe there are four main areas Sri Lanka needs to focus on. First, reducing input costs. Second, using foreign direct investment to secure technology, managerial expertise, and capital. Third, leveraging free trade agreements for market access. And fourth, competitive and stable exchange rates.
A visit of leading entrepreneurs from Southern Gujarat Chamber of Commerce offers greater prospects of increased Indian investment and trade, vowing to spread the word that Sri Lanka is safe to visit and to do business with. Representatives of the Southern Gujarat Chamber of Commerce engaged in a discussion with Minister of Development Strategies and Investment Promotion, Minister Malik Samara Wikrama, participated by Chairman of the Board of Investment of Sri Lanka, Mangalayapa, and senior officials from the BOI and from the ministry. Gujarat is the world leader in the production and export of about 60% cotton, and the state is also the third largest producer of denim material. Given the very large scale of many of India's enterprises, the minister stressed the need for Indian and Sri Lankan enterprises to work together in setting up and creating greater opportunities in the micro, small and medium enterprises and the small and medium-sized enterprises sector in the country. Meanwhile, the members of the Gujarat delegation stated that they would carry throughout their 9,000-strong membership and other stakeholders in India and indeed internationally the positive message that Sri Lanka is safe to visit and to do business with. Stay tuned for stock updates after this short break. Welcome back after the break. Trading at Colombo Stock Exchange ended on a negative note today. The all-share price index dropped 17.41 points to close at 5,776.48 and the S&P SL20 dropped 6.31 points to close at 2,759.75. The turnover was 485 million rupees and over 17 million shares were traded. Up next are Forex rates. That's all the news for today. Join us tomorrow at the same time. Until then, take care. Good night.